The transport pod hummed as it approached the massive research station floating in space. Inside, Taemin sat quietly, looking out the small window at the structure growing larger. It was called Nexus Prime, and it was bigger than any building he had seen on Mars. The station was home to scientists from all over the galaxy who studied different alien species. Taemin was 32 years old and had spent most of his adult life working in the mines on Mars. Mining was hard, dangerous work. Equipment broke down. Rocks fell. Sometimes people got hurt. Sometimes they died. But the pay was good, and Taemin needed money. His sister was sick and needed expensive medicine. His parents wanted to move from Mars to Earth, where life was easier and they could see the ocean. That dream cost money too. When he saw the advertisement for research volunteers, Taemin knew it was his chance. The Galactic Council wanted to study humans. They would pay well. The advertisement said the tests might be painful, but all injuries would be healed with advanced alien medicine. Taemin thought about the mining accidents he had survived. He thought about his sister. He signed up. The pod docked with a soft bump. A door slid open, and Taemin stepped into the station. The air smelled clean and sterile. Everything was white and silver. Aliens of different shapes and sizes walked through the corridors. Some had too many legs, some had no legs at all. Taemin tried not to stare. A woman waited for him at the entrance. She was human, which made Taemin relax a little. She had short, black hair and wore a blue uniform with a medical symbol on it. "Taemin?" she asked. Her voice was friendly but professional. He nodded. "That's me. I'm Hyejin. I'm the human liaison officer here. My job is to make sure you're treated fairly and that you understand what's going to happen." She gestured for him to follow her. "Come on. I'll show you around and explain everything." They walked through long corridors with windows looking into different chambers. In one room, a creature that looked like a giant slug floated in green liquid. In another, something with crystals growing from its body sat perfectly still. Hyejin explained that these were other research subjects from different planets. "Most of them are sedated," Hyejin said. "The researchers study their biology while they sleep. It's less stressful that way." "Will I be sedated?" Taemin asked. "That's up to you. The researchers want to test human pain tolerance, but you can request sedation at any time. Most species do." Taemin thought about this. If he was sedated, he wouldn't feel anything. That sounded easier. But something made him hesitate. He had endured pain before. He could do it again. They reached a large laboratory filled with strange equipment. In the center stood an alien unlike anything Taemin had imagined. It was tall and thin, with a body that looked like it was made of transparent crystal. Inside the crystal, lights pulsed in different colors. It had 4 arms and no face that Taemin could recognize. "This is Dr. Vralox," Hyejin said. "He's the lead researcher." The alien's voice came from somewhere inside the crystal body. It sounded like wind chimes. "Welcome, human Taemin. I have studied 47 different species in my career. You are my first human. I am very interested to learn about your biology." "What exactly will you do to me?" Taemin asked. Dr. Vralox gestured with one of his crystal arms. "We will test your response to pain. Humans are new to the Galactic Council. We need to understand your limits. For medical purposes, you understand. If a human is injured, doctors need to know how much pain you can tolerate. For military purposes, too. If humans serve in our defense forces, we must know your capabilities." Another alien approached. This one looked like a pile of clear jelly with eyes floating inside it. The jelly wobbled nervously. "This is researcher Quelm," Dr. Vralox said. "My assistant." Quelm's voice was soft and worried. "Are you sure you want to do this? The test can be very uncomfortable. Most subjects prefer to sleep through them." Taemin looked at the nervous jelly alien, then at the crystal doctor, then at Hyejin. He thought about his sister in her hospital bed. He thought about his parents looking at pictures of Earth's oceans. "I'll stay awake," he said. "Let's start." Dr. Vralox's lights pulsed brighter. "Fascinating. Most species request sedation immediately. Very well. We will begin with basic tests. They led Taemin to a chair that adjusted itself to fit his body. Sensors attached to his skin. Machines beeped and hummed around him. Dr. Vrelox explained that the first test would measure his response to electrical stimulation. It would hurt, but it wouldn't cause lasting damage. Are you ready? The doctor asked. Taemin nodded. Go ahead. The first shock hit his arm. It felt like touching a live wire back in the mines. His muscles tensed, his teeth clenched, but he didn't cry out. He had felt worse. Increasing intensity, Dr. Vrelox said. The shocks got stronger. Taemin's hand gripped the armrest. Sweat formed on his forehead, but he kept his breathing steady. In the mines, panic killed people. Staying calm was a survival skill. After several minutes, Dr. Vrelox stopped the test. The crystal alien studied his screens with all 4 arms moving rapidly. Remarkable. Your neural readings show you experienced full pain intensity. But your behavioral response is minimal. Do you wish to stop? Taemin rolled his shoulder, feeling the lingering ache. This is nothing compared to a mining accident. Keep going. Quelm wobbled anxiously. But you were in pain. We measured it. Why didn't you ask to stop? Taemin shrugged. Pain is just pain. It ends eventually. No point complaining about it. The researchers looked at each other. Even without human faces, Taemin could tell they were confused. They ran more tests that day. Each one measured a different type of pain. Pressure, heat, cold. Taemin stayed conscious through all of them. He gritted his teeth. He sweated. His muscles tensed. But he never asked them to stop. He never asked for sedation. By the end of the session, Dr. Vrelox was pulsing with excited colors. I have never seen anything like this. You experience pain normally. Your nervous system functions like other species. But your psychological response is completely different. Most beings cannot remain conscious through these tests. Most beings didn't grow up on Earth, Taemin said. It's a rough planet. You learn to deal with pain or you don't survive. That evening, Hyejin visited Taemin in his quarters. The room was small but comfortable, with a bed, a desk, and a window showing the stars. How are you feeling? She asked. Tired, sore, but okay. She sat down across from him. You don't have to prove anything, you know. It's okay to use sedation. That's what it's there for. Taemin smiled slightly. I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm just doing a job. They pay me whether I'm awake or asleep. But if I can handle being awake, why not? Makes the time go faster. Hyejin studied his face. You're different from other volunteers I've worked with. Most people are scared. I am scared, Taemin admitted. But fear doesn't change anything. My sister still needs medicine. My parents still want to move to Earth. Being scared doesn't help them. Doing this job helps them. After she left, Taemin lay in bed looking at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere on Mars was his sister. He closed his eyes and thought about the payment that would come when the study ended. He thought about his parents seeing the ocean for the first time. He could handle the pain. He had handled worse. And this time, the pain had a purpose. In the laboratory, Dr. Vrelox reviewed the day's data with Quelm. The assistant was still worried. Should we continue? Quelm asked. He suffered today. We measured it. He consented, Dr. Vrelox said. And he can withdraw at any time. But yes, we continue. This human is remarkable. I must understand how his species can function through such pain. Tomorrow we will increase the intensity. Quelm wobbled unhappily but said nothing more. The research would continue. And somewhere in the depths of the station, word was beginning to spread about the human who refused sedation. The human who stayed conscious through pain that would break other species. The human from the planet called Earth. 3 weeks had passed since Taemin arrived at Nexus Prime. The tests had grown more intense with each passing day. What started as simple electrical shocks had evolved into something much more serious. Now the researchers were testing thermal burns, crushing pressure, and chemical reactions on his skin. Each morning, Taemin walked to the laboratory. Each morning, Dr. Vrelox had new equipment ready, and each time Taman refused sedation. Today's test involved heat. Taman sat in the chair while Dr. Vrelox explained the procedure. A metal plate would be heated to extreme temperatures. Taman would place his hand on it for measured intervals. The alien doctors would monitor how long he could maintain contact before his body forced him to pull away. Most species last 3 seconds, Dr. Vrelox said. His crystal body pulsed with curious colors. With sedation, we can maintain contact longer for research purposes. Are you certain you wish to remain conscious? I'm certain, Taman said. Quelm wobbled nervously in the corner. The jelly-like alien had become increasingly uncomfortable with the experiments. This will hurt very much, Quelm said quietly. There is no shame in choosing sedation. Taman gave the worried assistant a small smile. I appreciate the concern. But I've been burned before. On Mars in the mines, equipment gets hot. You touch the wrong thing, you get burned. You learn to deal with it. The metal plate glowed red with heat. Taman could feel the warmth radiating from it before he even touched it. He took a deep breath, steadied his mind, and placed his palm flat against the surface. The pain was immediate and intense. It felt like his hand was on fire. Every nerve screamed at him to pull away. His jaw clenched so hard he thought his teeth might crack. Sweat broke out across his entire body. 3 seconds, Dr. Vrelox announced. Taman kept his hand on the plate. The pain didn't get worse because it was already at maximum. He had learned long ago that pain had a ceiling. Once you hit that ceiling, it couldn't hurt more. It just hurt the same, continuously. 5 seconds, the doctor said, his voice rising with excitement. 10 seconds. 15 seconds. At 20 seconds, Dr. Vrelox stopped the test. Enough. Your tissue damage is approaching dangerous levels. Taman pulled his hand back. The palm was red and blistered. It throbbed with pain that made his earlier tests seem mild. But he kept his breathing steady. He had survived. Quelm rushed forward with medical equipment. Tiny robots smaller than grains of sand sprayed onto Taman's hand. They were medical nanobots, advanced alien technology that could heal injuries in minutes. The pain began to fade as the machines repaired his damaged skin. 20 seconds, Dr. Vrelox repeated, studying his data screens. 7 times longer than any species we've tested. And you remained fully conscious. Your neural readings show maximum pain response, yet you maintain voluntary control. How? Quelm asked, staring at Taman. How did you do that? Taman flexed his newly healed hand. I thought about my sister. She's been sick for 2 years. Every day she's in pain. She doesn't get to choose whether she feels it or not. She just endures it. If she can do it every day, I can do it for 20 seconds. The aliens were silent for a moment. Then Dr. Vrelox's lights pulsed rapidly. Fascinating. You use emotional motivation to override pain response. Most species cannot do this. Most species didn't evolve on Earth, Taman said. Word of Taman's thermal test spread quickly through the station. By that evening, researchers from other departments were requesting access to the data. By the next morning, the test footage had been transmitted to medical facilities across 3 star systems. Hyejin found Taman in the station's small observation deck. He stood looking out at the stars, his healed hand resting on the window. You're becoming famous, she said. Did you know that military observers are watching your tests now? Taman shrugged. I'm just doing what they pay me for. You could stop, Hyejin said. You've already earned enough to help your family. The contract lets you withdraw at any time. Not enough for everything, Taman said quietly. My sister needs 2 more years of treatment. My parents' relocation costs more than I thought. If I finish the full study period, the payment will cover it all. I just need to last another month. Hyejin put a hand on his shoulder. A month of increasing pain. The tests only get worse from here. I know, Taman said. But pain is temporary. My family is forever. The next test came 3 days later. This one involved pressure. Dr. Vrelox had designed a machine that would slowly compress Taman's forearm, simulating a crushing injury. Most species, the doctor explained, experienced psychological breakdown during this test even with sedation. The slow building pressure created a unique form of suffering. We will stop immediately if you request it, Dr. Vrelox assured him. But I must know your limits. For science. Taman placed his arm in the machine. For science, he agreed. The pressure began. At first it was uncomfortable, like someone gripping his arm too tightly. Then it became painful, like his bones were being squeezed. Then it became agonizing, like his arm was being crushed slowly in a vise. Taemin's vision blurred. His breathing came in short gasps. Every instinct screamed at him to pull his arm free. But he had made a promise to himself. He would not quit. Through the haze of pain, he heard Dr. Vrelok speaking. The alien's voice seemed far away. Your neural readings are extraordinary. You are experiencing maximum pain stimulus, yet you maintain consciousness. Taemin tried to speak, but his jaw was clenched too tightly, so he just nodded slightly, indicating he could continue. Remarkable, Dr. Vrelok whispered. The test lasted 8 minutes before Dr. Vrelok stopped it for safety reasons. When the pressure released, Taemin's arm was bruised and swollen. The medical nanobots swarmed over it immediately, beginning repairs. Quelm approached him, the jelly alien's whole body trembling with distress. Why? Quelm asked. Why do you do this to yourself? Taemin's voice was hoarse when he answered. Because someone I love is suffering and I can't help her suffering. But I can make sure she gets the medicine that might end it. This pain has a purpose. Hers doesn't. So I'll take all the purposeful pain I can get. That night, Quelm filed a formal complaint with the station's ethics board. The assistant argued that the experiments had become exploitative, that just because Taemin could endure didn't mean he should have to. The ethics board reviewed the case and dismissed it. Taemin was a willing volunteer. He was being compensated fairly. He could withdraw at any time. No rules were being broken. But across the galaxy, others were paying attention. A military commander from the Krill Dominion watched the footage of Taemin's tests and made notes. If one human could endure this much for money, what would billions of humans endure for their homeworld? In a government office 3-star systems away, an intelligence analyst flagged the research data with a priority marker, potential threat assessment required. And on Earth, in a small hospital room on Mars, a young woman named Daun received a message that her treatment was fully funded. She cried with relief, not knowing that her brother was crying too, but for very different reasons in a research station far from home. The tests would continue. They would get worse. But Taemin had already decided that he would not break. He couldn't afford to. Too many people were counting on him. And the galaxy was beginning to realize that humans, for all their fragility, possessed something that other species had lost or never had. They possessed the ability to choose suffering when the alternative was abandoning someone they loved. It was the most human thing imaginable. And it terrified them. 5 weeks into the study, Taemin had become the most watched research subject in recent galactic history. Live feeds of his tests were transmitted to medical facilities, military academies, and government offices across dozens of worlds. Scientists who had never met a human were now experts on human pain tolerance. Children on alien planets learned about the man from Earth who smiled through suffering. Dr. Vrelok had become obsessed. His research on 47 other species seemed insignificant now. This human, this Taemin, represented something the doctor had never encountered. Every test revealed the same pattern. Humans felt pain at full intensity. Their nervous systems worked normally, but their minds simply refused to let pain stop them. The doctor designed a new test. This one would combine multiple pain sources simultaneously. Thermal burns, pressure injuries, and chemical irritation all at once while Taemin remained conscious. It was the most intense test ever conducted on any species at Nexus Prime. When Quelm saw the test design, the jelly alien refused to participate. This is wrong, Quelm said, wobbling with agitation. Just because he can endure doesn't mean we should make him. This has gone beyond research. This is cruelty. Dr. Vrelok's crystal body pulsed with cold colors. He consents. He can withdraw. These are the rules. Rules made by species who don't understand what they're seeing. Quelm shot back. You're not studying him anymore. You're breaking him. But Quelm was overruled. The Galactic Council's Oversight Committee approved the test. As long as Taemin agreed and could withdraw at any time, the research could continue. Yejin fought harder. She confronted Dr. Vrelok in his laboratory, her voice sharp with anger. You're pushing him too far. This test could cause permanent psychological damage. Then he can refuse, the doctor replied calmly. He won't refuse. That's the problem. He needs the money for his family and he'll do anything to get it. Dr. Vrelok turned all 4 of his crystal arms toward her. Then perhaps you should convince him to stop. I am a scientist. I study what volunteers allow me to study. If he wishes to continue, I will continue. Hyejin found Taemin in his quarters that evening. He was looking at his datapad, reading messages from his family. His sister had sent him a picture from her hospital room. She was smiling. The treatment was working. "Don't do tomorrow's test," Hyejin said without greeting. "Please, it's too much." Taemin set down the datapad. "I need to." "No, you don't. You've earned enough to help your sister. Your parents can relocate. You've done enough." "It's not enough for everything," Taemin said quietly. "My sister needs 2 more years of treatment. The medicine is expensive. If I stop now, we'll run out of money before she's cured. I can't risk that. There are other ways to earn money. Not this much this fast." He picked up the datapad again, showing her the picture of his sister. "Look at her smile. She's getting better. How can I stop now?" Hyejin sat down beside him. "I'm worried about you. Not just physically, mentally. This much suffering changes people." "I know," Taemin said, "but you know what changes people more? Watching someone you love die because you couldn't help them. I've been through that fear every day for 2 years. This pain, this is nothing compared to that fear." The next morning, the laboratory was crowded. Researchers from every department had gathered to observe. Military observers watched via secure feeds. Government officials tuned in from their offices. Everyone wanted to see if the human would finally break. Taemin entered the lab and saw the complex machine Dr. Vrelox had built. It looked like a torture device from humanity's dark history. Multiple arms extended from a central hub, each designed to inflict a different type of pain. "Last chance to reconsider," Dr. Vrelox said. "This test will be extremely difficult." Taemin looked at the machine, then at the cameras recording everything, then at Hyejin standing in the corner with tears in her eyes. He thought about his sister. He thought about his parents. He thought about every person who had ever chosen to suffer so someone else wouldn't have to. "I'm ready," he said. The test began. Heat seared his left arm. Pressure crushed his right. Chemicals burned his skin. All at once, all at maximum intensity, Taemin's body convulsed. His teeth ground together so hard they bled. Sweat poured from every part of him. His vision went white with pain. Every observer expected him to scream, to beg for it to stop, to finally break. Across the galaxy, beings watched with horrified fascination. But Taemin had learned something in the mines of Mars. Pain was just information. His body was telling him he was injured. But his mind knew the injuries would be healed. His mind knew why he was here. His mind was stronger than his body. Slowly, impossibly, his breathing steadied. Not calm but controlled. He was enduring. Dr. Vrelox's voice came through speakers. "Your vitals are at dangerous levels. Do you wish to stop?" Through clenched teeth, Taemin forced out words. "Not yet. Keep going." In the observation area, an alien researcher fainted. Another turned away, unable to watch. Hyejin was crying openly now. The test ran for 2 hours. Not because Taemin broke, but because Dr. Vrelox finally stopped it. The equipment had reached its safety limits. To continue would risk permanent damage that even alien medicine couldn't repair. When the machine released him, Taemin collapsed. Medical staff rushed forward with nanobots and healing equipment. His body was covered in burns and bruises. His muscles trembled uncontrollably. But he was conscious. Against all odds, he had remained conscious through the entire ordeal. As the medical nanobots worked their healing magic, Taemin lay on a recovery bed. His eyes were closed, his breathing ragged. Everyone expected him to sleep, to escape into unconsciousness. Instead, he reached for his datapad with a shaking hand. Hyejin rushed to his side. "What are you doing? Rest." "Checking," he whispered hoarsely. "Checking what?" He managed to open his account balance. The payment for completing the extreme test had just cleared. He looked at the number, did the calculation in his pain-fogged mind, and then something happened that would become the defining image of humanity for the entire galaxy. He smiled. Not a grimace of pain, not a bitter expression. A genuine, relieved, happy smile. The smile of someone who had just achieved their goal. "It's enough," he said, his voice cracking with emotion. "This payment puts me over the target. My sister's treatment is fully funded. All 2 years. My parents can relocate to Earth. I did it." Tears ran down his face, mixing with the sweat. But he was smiling. The cameras captured that smile. That image of a battered, injured human smiling through tears. Thinking not of his own pain, but of his family's future. The image transmitted across the galaxy. It appeared on news feeds, in research papers, in military briefings, in philosophy classes. The smile that asked a question no other species had ever truly answered. What would you suffer for? What would you endure if it meant saving someone you loved? Humans had answered that question with their entire evolutionary history. They would endure anything. Not because they were strong, but because their love was stronger than their pain. In his laboratory, Dr. Vrelox stared at his screens. 200 years of research, 47 species studied, countless experiments conducted. And nothing had prepared him for this. Humans didn't have higher pain thresholds. They didn't have special biology. They just had something the doctor had never thought to measure. They had purpose, and purpose, it seemed, could overcome anything. That night, an emergency session of the Galactic Council was called. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to discuss what the human experiments meant for the galaxy. Because everyone now understood one simple, terrifying truth. If one human could endure this much for money, what would billions of humans endure for their species, for their planet, for each other? Humanity had just announced itself to the galaxy not as warriors or conquerors, but as something far more formidable. They were survivors who refused to break. And that smile, that terrible, beautiful smile, would haunt the nightmares of every species that might one day become humanity's enemy. The Galactic Council chamber was built to hold representatives from 300 different species. Today it was completely full. Delegates from every corner of known space had gathered for the emergency session. The topic was simple, but profound. What did humanity's pain tolerance mean for the galaxy? The chamber was a massive dome with seats arranged in circular tiers. At the center was a platform where speakers addressed the assembly. Today, 3 people would testify: Dr. Vrelox, Hyejin, and Timon himself. Dr. Vrelox spoke first. His crystal body reflected the lights of hundreds of recording devices. He presented his findings with scientific precision. Charts showed human pain responses compared to 47 other species. Every graph told the same story. Humans felt pain normally but simply refused to let it stop them. Most species evolved pain as a stop signal. Dr. Vrelox explained. When an action causes pain, the organism stops that action immediately. This is normal. This is healthy. But humans evolved differently. On their planet Earth, stopping at the first sign of pain often meant death. So humans learned to process pain as mere information, not as a command. A delegate from the Krill Dominion stood. This species was insectoid, with a hard shell and compound eyes. Are you saying humans cannot be broken through torture? Dr. Vrelox's lights pulsed thoughtfully. I am saying that their breaking point exists so far beyond what we can ethically test that it might as well not exist. They break when they choose to, not when we force them to. This makes them extremely dangerous as enemies and extremely valuable as allies. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some voices spoke of restricting human military service. Others argued that humans should be recruited actively. A few whispered that perhaps humans should be feared. The council speaker, a floating being of pure energy, called for order. We will hear from the human liaison officer. Hyejin stepped onto the central platform. She wore her formal uniform. Her hands were steady, but her heart was racing. She was about to defend her entire species to the galaxy. Honored delegates, she began. I understand your concern. You've watched one human endure suffering that breaks other species. You're wondering what billions of humans might be capable of. Let me explain what you're actually seeing. She gestured to the screens showing images of Earth. This is our homeworld. Your researchers call it a death world. They're right. Earth has predators that hunt in packs, diseases that kill millions, natural disasters that destroy entire cities, weather that can freeze you or burn you. We evolved in constant danger. But here's what you need to understand. We didn't survive by being the strongest. We survived by helping each other. A human alone on Earth would die quickly. But humans together, we could survive anything. So we evolved to endure suffering not for ourselves, but for each other. A delegate from an aquatic species raised a tentacle. But this makes you dangerous. Soldiers who cannot be broken, warriors who feel no fear. We feel fear, Hyejin said firmly. We feel all of it. Every bit of pain, every moment of terror. We're not fearless. We're terrified most of the time, but we learned that fear and pain don't have to control us. We learned to push through them because giving up meant extinction. She looked around the chamber at the hundreds of alien faces. You want to know if humans are dangerous? Yes, we are. But not the way you think. We're dangerous because we will endure anything for the people we love. We're dangerous because we don't fight for conquest. We fight for family, for community, for the future. That's what makes us truly formidable. Not our pain tolerance, our love. The chamber was silent. Then, slowly, some delegates began to pulse agreement lights or make approval sounds in their various ways. Others remained skeptical. The council speaker gestured. We will now hear from the human subject himself. Taman walked to the platform. He still bore faint marks from his final test, lines on his skin where burns and bruises had been healed. He was nervous. He had never spoken to more than a few dozen people at once. Now billions were watching. But he thought about his sister, healthy now because of what he had endured. He thought about his parents, living near the ocean they had always dreamed of seeing. He drew strength from those thoughts. I'm not a scientist, Taman began. I'm not a soldier. I'm just a miner from Mars. But you want to know why I endured those tests, so I'll tell you. He looked directly at the nearest camera, speaking to the galaxy. My little sister was sick. Really sick. The medicine she needed cost more money than my family had. I could have let her suffer. I could have watched her die. Or I could volunteer for research that would pay for her treatment. Was it painful? Yes. Was it terrible? Yes. But here's the thing you need to understand. That pain was temporary. It would end. But my sister's life? That's forever. My parents' happiness? That's forever. So why would I quit? Why would I stop when I could handle the pain and they couldn't handle losing each other? A delegate stood. But you could have died. You could have been permanently damaged. Taman nodded. Yes, I could have. But my sister would have definitely died without treatment. Definitely. So I took the risk. Because that's what family means. That's what being human means. We take risks for each other. You're asking why I didn't quit. His voice grew stronger. I'm asking why I would. Pain is just pain. It's temporary. It ends. But family, love, purpose, those things last. Those things matter. Every human understands this. We've understood it for thousands of years. It's not special. It's just human. The silence in the chamber was profound. Beings from species that had evolved on gentle worlds, that had never known the daily threat of death, tried to comprehend this philosophy. Some understood. Others never would. The council speaker floated forward. The council will now vote on several proposals regarding human integration into galactic society. The voting took hours. But when it was finished, several important decisions had been made. First, medical protocols would be updated galaxy-wide. Human pain management required different approaches than other species. Doctors needed training to treat human patients properly. Second, research ethics boards would implement new protections. They would be called the Taman protocols. They would prevent exploitation of subjects from high pain tolerance species, even if those subjects consented willingly. Third, humans would be welcomed into mixed species military units, but safeguards would prevent them from being used as expendable shock troops. Their willingness to suffer would not be exploited. Fourth, and perhaps most importantly, humanity would be granted full council membership with all rights and protections. They were no longer the newcomers. They were equals. After the vote, Quelm found Taman in a waiting area. The jelly alien had been promoted to head the new Research Oversight Committee. It was Quelm's advocacy that had led to the Taman protocols. I want to apologize, Quelm said, wobbling with emotion. I should have stopped the experiment sooner. I should have protected you better. Taman smiled. You tried to protect me from the beginning. You were the only one who seemed to care more about me than the research. Don't apologize, thank you. But you suffered so much. Yes, Taman agreed. But because of that suffering, new rules exist. Other people won't be exploited the way I almost was. My pain had a purpose. It protected future subjects. That makes it worth it. Dr. Vrailox approached them. His crystal body pulsed with subdued colors. Human Taemin, I must apologize as well. My scientific curiosity led me to push you beyond ethical boundaries. I have redirected my research entirely. I now study human, psychological resilience and advocate for ethical research practices. I've read your new papers, Taemin said. The one about how humans developed altruism on a hostile planet. It's good work. Your suffering taught me something I failed to learn in 200 years of research, the doctor said. The most important adaptations are not physical. They are philosophical. Humans survived Earth not by being stronger, but by caring for each other. That is the lesson I will spend the rest of my life studying. Hyejin joined them, her face bright with relief. The council has granted you full citizenship with honors. They're offering you a position as a cultural ambassador. Taemin shook his head. I appreciate it, but no, I just want to go home. My family is waiting. They understand, Hyejin said. A transport is ready whenever you are. That night, Taemin stood one last time at the observation deck of Nexus Prime. He looked out at the stars, at the vast galaxy he had somehow changed. He thought about all the beings who had watched him suffer. He wondered what they had learned. He hoped they learned that strength wasn't about never feeling pain. It was about feeling it fully and choosing to move forward anyway. He hoped they learned that the most powerful force in the universe wasn't weapons or technology. It was love. It was caring about something more than your own comfort. Tomorrow he would go home. Tonight, he was content. His sister was healthy. His parents were happy. The galaxy understood humanity a little better. And across space, new rules protected future volunteers. It had been worth it. Every moment of pain had been worth it. 6 months had passed since Taemin left Nexus Prime. He was back on Mars working at a small manufacturing facility near the colony where he had grown up. The pay was modest, but it was honest work. More importantly, it was close to his sister. Dayun visited him every week. She was healthy now, her illness in full remission. The expensive medicine had worked. She had gained weight, her color was good, and most importantly, she was smiling again. Sometimes Taemin would watch her laugh at something silly and feel that every moment of pain had been worth exactly this. This laughter. This life. His parents had relocated to Earth, to a small coastal town where they could see the Pacific Ocean from their window. They sent him videos every week. His mother would show him the sunset over the water. His father would point out fish in the tide pools. They looked younger somehow, happier. They had spent their whole lives on Mars, and now they were living a dream they had thought impossible. Taemin tried to live quietly. He didn't want fame or recognition. But the galaxy had other ideas. Messages arrived daily from across known space. Scientists wanted to interview him. Military academies wanted him to speak to their cadets. Philosophers wanted to discuss his views on suffering and purpose. News agencies wanted exclusive stories. He declined most requests politely, but one message he did answer. It came from a young human woman named Yuna. She was 18 years old and studying xenobiology at a university on Earth. She had watched his trials and been inspired to dedicate her life to helping other species understand humanity. In her message, she wrote, "You showed them who we are. Now I want to build bridges. I want to make sure that understanding leads to friendship, not fear." Taemin wrote back immediately. He encouraged her, told her the galaxy needed people like her. He told her that the next generation should focus on understanding, not just endurance. He told her she was doing the work that truly mattered. The galaxy had changed in those 6 months. Humanity's reputation had transformed completely. They were no longer the newcomers, the primitives from the death world. They were now known as something else entirely. They were the species who smiled through suffering, the ones who endured. Medical facilities across space had implemented new protocols for human patients. Doctors now understood that human pain tolerance required different management strategies. Some alien medical students specialized in human biology specifically. In military academies, human soldiers were studied as examples of psychological resilience, not for their ability to kill, but for their ability to continue functioning under conditions that would break other species. Mixed species units welcomed human members, valuing their determination and refusal to abandon wounded comrades. But perhaps the biggest change was cultural. Alien species had become fascinated with human stories, human art, human philosophy. They wanted to understand the mindset that could turn suffering into purpose. Human films about sacrifice became incredibly popular. Human literature about perseverance topped bestseller lists across dozens of worlds. A phrase had emerged in galactic common language. When someone faced impossible odds, others would say, "Smile like a human." It meant, endure, persevere, remember what you're fighting for. It was the highest compliment you could give someone. Hee-Jin visited Taimin on Mars. She had been promoted to Director of Human Affairs for the entire Galactic Council. It was one of the most important positions a human held in galactic government. She handled it with grace and intelligence, always advocating for fair treatment while building genuine friendships with other species. They met at a small cafe overlooking one of Mars's terraformed valleys. The sky was still red, but plants grew now where once there had been only dust. "How are you?" Hee-Jin asked, though she could see the answer in his face. He looked content. "Good," Taimin said. "Really good. My sister is healthy. My parents are happy. That's all I ever wanted." "You changed the galaxy," Hee-Jin said. "You know that, right?" Taimin shrugged. "I just did what any human would do. I took care of my family. That's exactly why it mattered," she said. "You showed them that we're not monsters or warriors. We're just people who love our families enough to suffer for them." "What about Dr. Vrelox?" Taimin asked. "I read some of his new papers. They're impressive," Hee-Jin smiled. "He's become one of the most influential voices in research ethics. He gives lectures about how scientific curiosity must be balanced with compassion. He uses your case as his primary example. He's written extensively about how humans developed strong altruistic tendencies, specifically because Earth was so hostile. Most species from harsh worlds became paranoid. Humans became communal. Has he forgiven himself?" Taimin asked. "I don't think so," Hee-Jin said quietly. "He still carries guilt about how far he pushed you. But he's channeling that guilt into making sure it never happens to anyone else." "Good," Taimin said. "That's all I wanted. For something good to come from it." They talked for another hour about the changes in the galaxy, about humanity's growing role in the Council, about the future. When Hee-Jin finally left, Taimin sat alone for a while looking out at the red landscape of his home. A few weeks later, Taimin received an invitation. The Galactic Council was holding its annual summit, and they had requested he give a speech. Not as a research subject, as an equal. As someone whose perspective the galaxy valued. This time he accepted. The summit was held on a neutral station near the galactic core. Representatives from hundreds of species attended. When Taimin walked onto the central platform, the chamber fell silent. Everyone knew who he was. Everyone had seen the footage of his trials. He stood at the podium and looked out at the assembled beings. He took a breath and began. "6 months ago you watched me endure pain. You studied how much a human could take. You measured my limits and found that I didn't break the way you expected. Since then, many of you have tried to understand what you saw. So let me explain it simply. You've been asking the wrong question. It's not how much pain can humans endure. The real question is, what are they enduring it for? We don't suffer because we're built differently. We suffer because we believe in something beyond ourselves. Family, community, the future, love. We come from a planet that tried to kill us every single day. Predators hunted us. Disease stalked us. Nature tested us constantly. We should have gone extinct. Most species would have. But we survived because we learned one critical lesson. We learned that together we could endure anything. Alone we were weak. Together we were unstoppable. Pain is just pain. It's information. It tells you something is wrong. But purpose? Purpose makes pain bearable. Purpose makes suffering meaningful. That's what you saw in those tests. Not superhuman strength, just human purpose. So when you look at humans, don't see warriors or weapons. See families. See communities. See people who will endure hell itself if it means protecting someone they love. That's not something to fear. That's something to respect, and maybe something to learn from. The chamber erupted in approval. Not all species showed approval the same way, but the message was clear. They understood. Years passed. Taman lived quietly on Mars, working his simple job, visiting his sister weekly, talking to his parents every day. He consulted occasionally for the council's ethics committee, ensuring no other research subjects endured what he had. Da-Un finished her medical studies and became a doctor herself, specializing in helping other patients with the same condition she had survived. She often told them about her brother, about how his sacrifice had saved her life. She told them that love was stronger than any disease. His parents lived out their days peacefully on Earth, walking along the beach every evening, marveling at the ocean they had dreamed about for so long. And across the galaxy, humanity flourished, not as conquerors or warriors, but as friends and allies. They brought their unique perspective to every challenge. When problems seemed impossible, humans would smile and say, "We've handled worse." And they had. They really had. One evening, Taemin sat on his small balcony watching the Mars sunset. Da-Un had come over for dinner. They sat together in comfortable silence, the kind only family can share. "Do you ever regret it?" Da-Un asked quietly. "The pain you went through?" Taemin looked at his sister, healthy and strong and alive. He thought about his parents watching sunsets over the Pacific. He thought about the new ethics protocols protecting future volunteers. He thought about young people like Yuna, building bridges between species. "No," he said simply, "not for a single second. I'd do it all again." "Why?" "Because you're here. Because Mom and Dad are happy. Because the galaxy understands us a little better now. Because maybe I helped make things a little safer for everyone who comes after. That's not something to regret. That's something to be proud of." Da-Un leaned her head on his shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered. "Always," he replied. That's what family means. Above them, stars filled the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, Nexus Prime continued its research with new protocols and better ethics. Somewhere out there, humans and aliens worked together, learned together, built a future together. And across the galaxy, whenever someone faced impossible odds, they would remember the story of the human who smiled through injury. They would remember that strength isn't about never feeling pain.